beach house being open, and they count on, us chatting up how to fix seafood, and, telling them, where to go and get shoes, because 2 of their 4 kids forgot to bring shoes with them.
Yep.
Those kinds of things. So, yeah, I've had a great time being, a part of the visitor scene.
Great.
And I would add one more thing beyond the depth of community of having to get along with people, because we're all going to count on each other because of the small. I think it encourages us to look past the issues that we're having trouble with and to see more of the person, to look harder at them and to get to know them beyond whatever it is that was like the surface issue that we may be confrontational about. And I like that. I like enjoying getting to know people more than just 1 or 2 issues that we might, confront about.
Right. That's very true. And when it's just everybody in it together and kind of doing a little bit of everything together, everyone's got an opinion on something. So
Yeah.
Can I add to that?
yeah, please.
Because I was going to say, one of the nice things about, being in the small spaces, you can have a really awful interaction with somebody. Either they just had the worst day of their life, or something happened, and you're going to run into each other later. And going along with that, you start to take in, it can't all, the way you interact with each other. If somebody has a really awful day, if they treat you really horribly, there's more to it than that.
Right.
And usually the next time you see them, if you kind of say, hey, how are you doing? I hope you're having a little bit better day than last time. They might be like, oh, yeah, man, I'm sorry. I was an asshole to you.
Right.
Or they'll say, actually, can I talk to you about that? There was stuff going on that was really, and I didn't have anybody to talk to, or whatever, but you end up being able to know people so much more, sometimes because you see the worst of each other.
Right.
And that's really wonderful, because I think we can spend the majority of our lives having encounters with people that aren't always wonderful. You go to a restaurant somewhere that you don't know, and the person's having a bad day, you're like, God, that was awful. I don't want to go there. But here you have the ability to get that second and third and fourth chance.
Connection with somebody.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that was I
I'd
like
like
that.
to add to that too.
Please.
That's been going on for generations, because and continues to. The kids. The quick story: child who had been beat up by somebody like last year. Family was a bit concerned and all this. And, this child's mom saw him playing with those same kids like this year. What's going on? That's Mom. This is Okakoke. So the kids grow up as part of it.
And they get it.
What, Mom? This is Okakoke. Get over it. And then the older guys who grew up here and went to the same school, I hear them on the coffee shop table, bench, talking about the things, terrible things this one did to that one. And you would never know it if you hadn't heard that story. They're best buddies. And this has been going on, that whole theme of getting along, but not getting along. It's been going on and continues to go on.
Yeah. And so I think it's interesting, Elizabeth, that you noticed that the tourists pick up on that, right? That they understand that connection, and that's something that makes Ocracoke unique. I wonder if we could talk a little bit about how maybe that would help to be attractive not only to tourists but people who would want to work here. Like, how did they connect into that and become part of that community as well? And if that is something that's attractive, if that's a resource that's attractive to bringing people in. So maybe let's start with that.
I think we get, and some people may know this a little bit better, I've watched kids come here as, I'm getting old. I've watched them come as kids, and they're graduating from college now. I knew them in the restaurant, really, when I was really in restaurants now, and now they're graduating.
Yeah.
So they come every year, just like Elizabeth. And so they're looking for, if they don't see me, they're asking somebody else where I am.
Right,
If they don't see Elizabeth, well, they want to know, and they want to keep up. But I think we get some of those kids coming back to work here in the summers. They've been coming for years as tourists, and now they're old enough to be on their own or whatever. I mean, whatever that deal is, and come here and work.
Yeah.
To be the seasonal worker.
Right.
And think there's some years it's a fair amount of that student and kid, whatever you call it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And some years maybe not quite as many. I don't know how it goes, but we do get some of those. Anna Rucker, has been coming in a long time, and
Yeah.
she started as a tourist
Wow.
and then worked at a business
Uh-huh.
and now owns a business.
Wow. Okay.
So,
And that's
and I think there's probably
what's
other
more
people.
common than
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably a
and-
lot of our generation.
Yeah.
Kitty Mitchell,
Yeah.
grew up
Yeah.
coming here
Oh,
as a
that's
kid.
right. Yeah, that's right.
She went
yeah.
to college. She,
Mhm.
she knew where she was headed after she graduated.
Paula
and she was
Schrammel.
here.
Yes,
Yeah.
Paula
Ran an
Schrammel,
art
also a
studio.
business owner. Yeah.
Now she teaches
Yeah.
teaching at school for how many years?
yeah.
That's
So-
pretty amazing.
So I think
That's-
trying to get workforce, we could maybe I don't know, but
Yeah.
almost encourage some of that. Is okay,
absolutely.
Well, and I feel
Now
like
you-
that's why, I mean,
That's
my
what I
first
thought
year here, my first week here,
Mm-hmm.
I stayed for a week. I came back a week later for 3 months.
Yeah.
And I mean, I met people in that week that are still some of my best friends.
Right. Right.
Came
And
for
that-
the weekend and never left.
Yeah, see? And it just connected. And we have friends who have been visiting since they were little. And even though they've never lived here and worked here, they still come back these certain times
Oh,
a year. They know all of our families. We catch up with each
Yeah.
other. We're really, I mean, they might as well be
Yeah.
a part of the community.
Yeah.
An extended off-island family.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting.
The flip side of that, I would say, the devil's advocate is it can also be a very hard community
Uh-huh.
to feel included in when
But
you
that's been happening
move
for
here.
generations.
Yeah.
I mean, when I moved here,
Yeah.
that's been happening.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know for a good 30 years. You
So
know.
there's a, I think
It's
there's
not always easy.
right, there's a
No doubt.
duality to that. Like, I think when you decide to become, I think that when you are here longer and longer, or you're not just visiting, or maybe even when you are visiting, there's also this desire for commitment.
Right.
Um,
On behalf of whom?
I think that I think that people want to see you have a commitment to this place. You're not just here to make money off of whatever is here.
Right.
You're not just freeloading. You're not just taking advantage
Yeah.
of the situation. Because I feel like I had great friends, but for me to really feel comfortable here, I worked my ass off to make sure people knew that I was here. That I was staying here because I was really committed to this town and to the children and to the people, and I wasn't just here. I don't just to.
Make a button.
Yeah.
I was right there with you. I mean, I
Yeah.
totally understand.
Yeah.
Maybe different people saying,
Yeah.
same idea, but yeah.
And it's not different, I guess, from any place else. But the one aspect that is a little different in a tourist industry is that you are performing, interacting with
Yeah.
everybody, putting
Right.
so much energy out there
Right.
that if you put a lot of energy into somebody who says they're here
Yeah.
and then they soon
That's
leave,
all.
Uh-huh.
Exactly.
you just lost a lot of energy. And so
Yeah.
that's
Right.
why I think
Yeah.
it does take
Absolutely.
a couple years to be included in the community, probably
Right.
because we're all acting and putting so much energy out there.
Yeah.
You
Mm-hmm.
can't waste it on
Yeah.
someone who's not
Yeah.
really here.
Sure. Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Thank you.
I'll think of another example who's not here at the moment, but Chuck from Chuck's AC.
Yeah.
He served this area for a long time, and more, and then had a hankering to buy a place here, and finally did. Now he's got a thriving business here.
I just thought he came down a lot.
But he's got a house now.
Well,
They
no,
live
he,
here.
he has a house and he's done a really great job of fixing it up, and it's just, we know it because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
one street over from where
Yeah.
we live, so.
Wendy's
saw
off
it in
20
action.
minutes behind.
Yep. That's okay.
Oh, I'm good.
We'll move on. So this is really helpful to sort of think about these community resources and sort of the social connections that help to maybe attract people and retain people here. I wonder if we could talk a little bit about things that are that make it challenging to be here, that would maybe make it hard for people to decide to come. and be a part of the workforce or the community.
That's right, he's already said it.
Yeah.
Housing.
Housing. Okay, so housing's the top one. Have you seen people sort of find a way to address that challenge? With the
Any successes?
yeah, what has worked well for people thinking
It
about
seems
that?
like in the 25 years I've been here, it hasn't changed much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's been various talk, but the cost of land and the limited amount of land, I mean, it'd be nice if something like the Anchorage was created in which it was all, housing for anybody there, but it's just not there,
Yeah.
and so it doesn't seem like it's changed.
I don't think so, and I think that, the foundation for a while owned the Boyette House, and certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but the premise of that was to get people that lived and worked here some affordable housing.
Mm-hmm.
And probably it did, I mean, there were definitely people living in there, but then that gets some of the other people who are paying for the expensive housing, and we're a little irritated, and it wasn't me, because but, we're a little irritated, because you got the cheap housing, I'm still living in the old expensive housing. I mean, it kind of creates a little sandpaper.
Yeah.
Sure,
well,
sure,
how did
sure.
you get that? You've only been here a year, whatever.
Right.
But so it was a great thought and a great try, and now it's not worked. I don't really know all the reasons it totally didn't work.
In the Park Service, they have their housing, but you see the turnover at the school in terms of teachers and
Right.
the inability to be able to bring things, because there's, and probably also the other essential services in the island, and
Yeah.
can't find stable housing for them, even if we're running the place, and
Yeah.
that
I mean, they
is a
beg,
big
like,
strain.
I can pay you steady rent all year. I'm
Yeah.
teaching your children.
Right.
I have got to live somewhere. Well, good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
because I think the really the money of monthly rent versus the money that's made in the season.
Mm-hmm. Just doesn't come out in the wash. Yeah.
Same thing for daycare.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how is that? That's an issue I think that's kind of interesting to think about, the daycare and childcare aspect. How has that become a challenge for folks in the industry here?
She'll know more.
The daycare center's beautiful daycare center.
Mm-hmm.
5 stars, fully accredited, very well, organized place. Couldn't get staff because they couldn't pay them enough.
Mm-hmm.
If you can make more money in season, working several jobs,